classic F1 in AMS2 is back, and it is back with a brand new season. This time we're going way back to the early 90s, 1991 to be exact. It was pretty much a transitional season between the McLaren-Honda dominance that began with the end of the 80s towards a Williams-Renault dominance with the iconic Williams FW14B, a car that was really ahead of its time. In the actual 1991, however, it was an interesting battle between these two teams. Senna and McLaren with an amazingly dominant start to the season, but when Williams sort of got their reliability sorted out, Nigel Mansell caught up pretty quickly. In the end, it was just not enough for the Williams team, and Senna took his third and final championship. Well, how will things play out in our virtual season? We will see in the upcoming races. Today we will have no business at the top, as we'll be competing as Ivan Capelli in the beloved underdog team of Leyton House, formerly known as the iconic March team. Now, without further ado, let's hit a soaking track in Imola. But before we actually do that, let's take a quick look at the starting grid. Reigning champion Ayrton Senna starts from P1, and his main rival of the past years, Alain Prost, in his Ferrari starts from P2. Then it is Nigel Mansell in the Williams, Gerhard Berger, Senna's teammate, in 4th, a lazy Roberto Moreno, strong qualifying for the second Benetton driver, Riccardo Patrese in 7th, Nelson Piquet, Pierluigi Martini in 9th, Andrea De Cesaris for the brand new Jordan team in 10th, strong qualifying for the new team, Bertrand Grachot, his teammate, in 11th, then it is Stefano Modena, our teammate Mauricio Gugelmin in 13th, Gianni Morbidelli in 14th, and then on the second page we see Satoru Nakajima, Thierry Boutsen, Mika Häkkinen, Ivan Capelli, ourselves starting from P18, and then it is Eric Comas, Marc Blundell, Michele Alboreto, Aguri Suzuki, Martin Brundle, Eric Bernard, Johnny Herbert and Alex Caffey for the rest of the grid. And here we are in P18 on the grid for the season opener of our shortened 1991 season. The San Marino Grand Prix is underway, and we get a pretty clumsy start as we already lose 1, 2, 3 spots. Ligier and both Lola LaRousse's made it past ourselves. These being Bertrand Gachot, Eric Bernard and Aguri Suzuki ahead of us, as we are late on the brakes going into Tosa for the first time. There were no chicanes on the run towards the hairpin, so a flat out bit all the way towards Tosa. Back in the day, very, very fast that first bit on the track, as we just made up a lot of spots, as we are now running in P60 now. With a late move going into Tosa, and now this part of the track, however, was a lot slower than it is nowadays, or it was just a couple of years later. Acqua Minerale was a lot slowed down by a pretty clumsy and slow chicane ahead of the iconic uphill corner that we just passed there. Variante Alta, that one still is pretty much the same as it is today. And now the run towards the Rivazas as well. This is all very familiar if you know the modern track at Imola. The Rivazas, where we just looked down the inside of Thierry Boutsen in his Ligier, but we didn't dare to make a move. Now we have to look in our mirrors as Satoru Nakajima in his Tyrrell is trying to make a move on us. This part here of the track is also different to what it is today. Today there is pretty much nothing after the Rivazza. They're pretty much the final corner as we try to make a move against Thierry Boutsen, but we don't get the best of exits out of Variante Bassam. And now it is Satoru Nakajima going alongside us through the flat-out Tamburello corner. You can see on the bottom left how the top 6 are running right now. Under usual circumstances, we shouldn't have any business with them, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but in these conditions, who knows what is possible. The rain is, as we just run wide into Tosa, and Nakajima made it past, the rain is said to stop in the next couple of minutes, the track of course being very wet, but we may be running on a dry track, maybe around the halfway point of this track. towards the end we will definitely have a dry track, I'm pretty sure of that, as we go through the very clumsy Acqua Minerale corner once more, up the hill towards Variante Alta, and this is a part of the track where we're pretty much losing a lot of time compared to the cars around us. Satoru Nakajima disappeared in the spray there, but going through the chicane we just see his red light there as he once more disappears, as our traction out of the most corners is pretty poor. And now through the Rivazzas we once more are very close. And now towards the double chicane that is the old Variante Bassa, the final corners of the track. Oh, as we run a little bit wide and through the grass there, didn't cost us as much time. Oh, but here we run wide once more. This one cost us a lot more time, but luckily it didn't cost us the race, as it is very easy to spin the car around in these conditions. Well, and a little later, once more into the Rivazzas, we get a lot closer to Nakajima. Maybe this time we can get a better exit out of the corner. A little bit, yes, we did, but oh, we almost spin the car in a puddle, a lot of standing water there, and therefore we missed that chicane almost entirely. So there we lost a lot of time. Now through the final chicane once more, and on the curb we spin the car, almost spin the car once more. So really a clumsy last sector by ourselves, as this was Eric Comas who just passed us there in the second Ligier, and now it is Mika Häkkinen in his debut season for the Lotus team, is now right alongside us going towards Tosa. He makes it past as well. Oh, we lock our front left, we run into the back of Mika Häkkinen, take him out of the race, so he's definitely out of that one. And I believe Eric Comas has taken some damage from him as well, as Häkkinen spun into him. Our car still feels fine, but that was pretty much our fault. We just took out two cars there, but at least we're still fine. And a short trip towards the top of the grid. Nigel Mansell has made it past Alain Prost in the meantime and is running in P2 right behind Ayrton Senna, but in lap 4 he comes into the pit lane and retired from the Grand Prix due to a technical issue. So, and it is back to ourselves now, as we moved up into P15. We were 17th ahead before, but of course we saw Mansell retiring, so we made up that spot, and well, there is cars retiring pretty much everywhere, which is very usual, A, under these circumstances, and B, for the 1991 season in general. The cars back then were a lot more sensitive to reliability, so there was pretty much only half of the cars starting made it over across the line in the end, as well, reliability was a lot more of an issue back in the day than it is nowadays. But we made it close to Thierry Boutsen once more, but just as I say that, we get another terrible exit out of the final corner, and from being right at his gearbox, it is now up to 1.4 seconds almost, the gap once more. And now through the Tamburello corner, really, I mean, it is an exciting corner back in the day, but it really was a safety concern. This, of course, being the corner where Ayrton Senna tragically lost his life in 1994. Therefore, it was changed afterwards with the Tamburello chicane we know now as Imola's turn 1. But back to racing action here, as we see that, well, Thierry Boutsen can kind of keep the gap right now. And, well, we are looking for a way around him, as we see a lot of debris on the track right now. And now we're a lot closer going through Variante Bassa to Thierry Boutsen. Maybe we can try it once more. We have tried it here on the end of the first lap, but our exit once more is pretty poor. We are really struggling on traction right now. which is a big shame, as I think we could go quicker in total, but we just don't find any way past, as we slowly see a dry or drier line form on some parts of the track. Here in Tosa you could really, or ahead of Tosa especially, you could really see it as we try to go off the line to make a move on Boutsen, but, well, if you leave that line, you are instantly on a very, very wet track. And, well, there is a lot of standing water as well, especially after Tamburello. This is really, really the wettest part of the track right now, pretty much. As, well, I've said it before, there is a lot of debris, so a lot of cars really struggling, crashing under these conditions. But still, we are only in 15th. And we are really, really, really struggling to get past Thierry Boutsen, but we really could go faster, I really know it, but where do we make a move? This is the main issue in these conditions, with a half drier track, and the rest of it really being extremely soaked still. Ahead of that corner, you've seen it as well, there was a lot of standing water, but we see Thierry Boutsen now coming into the pit lane, and this is interesting, as there is, at least in Automobilista, there is two kinds of rain tires here. The monsoon tires that we are on right now, as we just made it past Gerhard Berger, who changed on the a little less dramatic rain tires, and I can see why they do that, but we're going for a one-stop strategy. We're trying to stay out with our monsoon tires as long as we can to instantly go back on to the dry tires. And we moved up quite a lot of spots there. I believe we are in 6th if I read the display under our steering wheel correctly. And ahead of us, this is Alain Prost, I believe, just running ahead of us in the Ferrari, the vice champion of 1990, as we just check our strategy to make sure that we are changing onto dry tires when we will come for our pit stop. I don't think it is too far away, the slick conditions, as there really is a pretty dry line right now, but the puddles are still sort of an issue. We can see ahead of us, these are other cars that haven't yet pitted, so they're really holding them up on a lot of parts. The other rain tires are a lot quicker than ours, as we just lock our front left tires, our front tires in general, once more. So other cars now going into the pit lane. One of them was Satoru Nakajima. But we stay out, as I already stated. We want to... Oh, and Prost almost loses the car, therefore holds up a Berger, and we slip through both of them. So we are now up into P3, I believe. I think we are. Yeah, we are. Senna leading the race ahead of Stefano Modena, who made it up to P2, and he has stopped as well. Ivan Capelli, ourselves in 3rd, and then we have seen Prost and Berger are now behind us. But they should be able to go a lot quicker with their tires on most parts of the track. Oh, as we once more lock the tire. Traction now being really, really poor in these conditions. We are on the wrong tire, but we will hold on. As we're now going towards Variante Alta once more, and yeah, you see it with the traction. And now we are very vulnerable going towards the Rivazzas. Berger and Prost now trying to make it past us. Prost around the outside. Oh, and there goes Patrese. Berger tried the inside line. We defended that one. But in that moment, both Prost and Patrese made it past ourselves, and Patrese also made it past Gerhard Berger, therefore, who is still behind us. Now, Patrese also battling Alain Prost ahead of us. Now this is the part of the track where our tires should still be kind of fine, because after Tamburello there is a lot of water. So let's see how we do there. We are gaining on the cars ahead. Oh, look at these big puddles there. As we're getting close towards them, but we are a little early on the brakes, and therefore both Berger and Nelson Piquet made it through. So we lost another 2 spots, but as I already said, this fight up there is pretty much none of our business. We just want to keep the car on track, make the change onto the dry tires immediately once the track is ready for it, and then try to get a good result for our Leyton House team that will be struggling to score points this season, I'm sure of, because they didn't really have a good car in 1991. They were impressively fighting for the victory of the French Grand Prix in 1990, I believe it was. Out of nowhere back in the day. But oh, Berger is slow and we ram. Oh no, we weren't able to avoid Gerhard Berger, who stalled on track, I believe, as it looked like. We weren't able to stop our car or get around him. Now we lose a lot of spots and we have some big damage on our car. We need to repair that, but I've decided we are just now going for it anyway. It will be a very long stop now, but we will change onto the dry tires immediately and try if the track is ready, because there were a lot of retirements today. This race is still not over, even with a long pit stop. And I spare you to look at, well, a very lengthy pit stop here, as we are now out with the dry tires. Now through Tamburello, it feels fine here, but we know the standing water is coming up now, as we are really struggling. And oh, well, that was unavoidable. There is still too much water as we crash heavily going towards Tosa, and are now out of the race as well. We add to the long list of retirements and, well, don't finish the San Marino Grand Prix. Well, but it wasn't over with the retirements, and one high-profile retirement I will show you here. Alain Prost was losing a lot of spots throughout this race. We remember him starting this race in P2 and running in P2 for a long time, but now he dropped out of the podium spots completely, and even Nelson Piquet is able to go a lot quicker than him, as you can see here in his Benetton. And well, Alain Prost definitely having some sort of issue, which gets confirmed here, as just after Rivazza won, his car stops on track as well. So Alain Prost, another high-profile retirement in the San Marino Grand Prix. And with that over, let's look at the final results of this race. Riccardo Patrese surprisingly wins in his Williams ahead of Ayrton Senna. Nelson Piquet made it up to P3 in the end. Andrea De Cesaris, a very strong debut for the Jordan team. They finish in 4th and secure their first championship points in their first race. Also, a very pleasant race here for the Minardi team, as Pierluigi Martini scores 2 points for the team, and Roberto Moreno, Benetton being the only team that scored points with both cars today. And for the Drivers' Championship, well, it is pretty much the race result. Back in 1990, of course, only the first 6 drivers scored points, so Patrese leads the championship now ahead of Senna, Piquet, De Cesaris, and Pierluigi Martini, and Roberto Moreno. And for the Constructors' Championship, Williams leads with 10 points ahead of McLaren, Benetton with 5 points, Jordan with 3 points, Minardi 2, Tyrrell being a little bit unlucky with Stefano Modena finishing in 7th, just outside the points. And that has been it for the 1991 San Marino Grand Prix here in Imola. The next race will be the Canadian Grand Prix at Montreal. I hope to see you all there. Subscribe to not miss anything on this channel, and of course leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And that's it for me today, and I hope to see you all the next time. Goodbye.